So welcome to another episode of Menable Matters with me, Steve Whitten. Now, we're always delighted to bring you fabulous guests from across the automotive industry, especially when they are prolific leaders who have fantastic cultures in their business and can really talk from the heart passionately about what it means to have a great team of people around them. So my guest today is the one and only Peter Vardy. Peter, how are you, sir?
Very well, indeed. That's a very nice introduction. I'm not sure you cannot find a fabulous lady at the end of coming to me. It's very kind of you. Yeah, great. It's great to be having had a chat with you about what you're doing. It's a real pleasure to be on this and just to encourage you as well with what you're doing. Speaking out for this topic, I think it's wonderful. And I think I haven't been in the industry all my life, and seeing some of the issues over the last 12 months particularly, it's great that you're a spokesperson for this, so well done.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot. That really does mean a massive amount, Peter. So thank you. So in good old Menable Matters fashion, if you could give us a bit of an intro, as to, I think most people, as I've said off camera, kind of know you, if you're in the industry in the UK, but for our international audience as well, a bit of an intro as to who you are, where you're from, bit of background, and how you ended up where you are now.
Yeah, my name is Peter Vardy. My dad had the same name, so that's probably why I'm known, because I share the same name. My dad had a big bus group, which was successful, and a lot of people enjoyed being part of that. And then I went on my own. 2006, when the opportunity came along, kind of forced to start on my own and built the company up over this period of time. And there's about 1,100 people in the company now, which is a number of things. It's got a motor group. Which is going down the route of used cars, supermarkets, online supermarkets, and premium brands. And then we've got an interest in a software business and a finance e-commerce business, and then a new leasing company that's starting next month. So we've got a few interests as a family in mostly automotive things, to be honest with you, where which we hopefully know what we're doing in and have enjoyed over a long time. It's nearly 100 years since the family's been in motor trade, actually. So since my granddad registered it in Huntley Springs. So yeah, we can't think of anything better to do, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, actually, it must be in your blood, in the DNA, because I was going to ask you to take us back to right to the very beginning, because if you've been in the industry a while, you'd have heard of the name Reg Vardy. So that was your grandfather.
Yeah, I'm the third generation, the one that normally cocks it up. Yeah, so I'm just trying to make sure that isn't the case. So it was Reg Vardy, then my dad, Peter Vardy. Sir Peter now, yeah, he got recognised by the Queen, and then myself, so third generation in it.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so a bit of a timeline. You said 100 years. So when was it exactly that you?
1923, my granddad started.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, and he didn't want to go down the mine, so he ended up got a cart and was delivering things to people's houses, picking things up. Then got a horse and cart, and then eventually got a van and petrol pumps, and then eventually cars. And that's how it started, with a kind of small transport business, if you like, and then a showroom. And then my family used to go on the forecourt, which is the house I grew up in as well, and we used to serve the petrol.
Wow.
And look after guests when they came in. So, and I remember that when the company was small. So it grew really quickly under my dad's leadership. He's a very successful man, and then a little bit slow under mine, but learned loads of lessons.
So what was the timeline with your dad? Because I remember I did meet you. I think I did meet your father once in the past.
Well, the company grew. What was it, 1970 something like this? Dad took it on when he was in his 30s, late 40s, and then or early 40s, sorry, and then grew it up to sold out in 2006 to Pendragon. It was about 100 dealerships, about 6,000 people then. So it finished up very, very different from I remember seeing it when I started, with customers coming in, eating my tea when I came up from school, because that's what in the family business when it was small. It was an amazing success story to watch, and a lot of happy memories for a lot of people. Did very well out of it. Yeah, and then 2006 I started with Vauxhall and built the business up from then to now. Yeah, so I'm quite excited about coming out of COVID and seeing what we can do.
What it brings, yeah, no, exactly. Now we had a conversation a week or so ago in preparation for this, and one of the things that we talked about was your work now, not just in your own motor group, but in and around the community, and you have a number of foundations, and I think you mentioned something about secondary schools or academies in there as well. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, our purpose for being in business was to make change and trying to have positive change wherever we could. So my dad's point of view, set up a foundation. When my dad set up a foundation and got involved, as the business got probably more successful than they imagined, they were able to help a lot of causes out. Quite a lot of time to do with young people. That was it. They really enjoyed that. So then that was the lesson my brother, my sister, and I have all learned. So what we're trying to do in any business that we're in now is make sure that the purpose of being in business is clearly to build up to be successful, but then to really sell things to give money away. And so we've enjoyed a culture in this business of linking the success of the business with what we can give, and then helping causes out all over the world, mostly still to do with young people. So we've launched a program which we'll roll out in September in secondary schools in Scotland, which is teaching young people leadership. And we're starting with S1, which is the youngest kids. And so we're trying to bring the best leadership material from all around the world into an online platform, and then teach kids to help them make better decisions than maybe we did. So our aim on that project is to try and teach 1 million children over a period of time the best leadership skills in the world. So we've got quite lofty ambitions of what we're trying to do in business. So we have been brought up to think big, and then we've done the same with the foundation. So that's really the thing we're really involved in is showing people that we value them, whether it be in business or with the community. And if we're successful in business, that gives us more ammunition or more ability to go and make bigger change.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. And is your goal and aspiration to get not all 1 million of them, but a good proportion of those youngsters into the automotive industry?
No, nothing to do with it. It was just genuinely. Well, it was one of these ones where I was trying to write what I fancy doing the next stage of my career and trying to look at the next 10 years. And I spent quite a lot of time thinking about, what was happening in the States and the motor trade and things. And then I kind of woke up one morning and thought, I need to try and sort out what's happening with the foundation. Because if the reason for doing it is to give back, that really is my end goal. So what would I do with it? What is the end goal?
Mm.
So I was trying to think of different causes, and you go and see different causes like, homelessness and poverty, and actually they're all topics I would choose in my lifetime to do something about in my lifetime. I thought it'd be much easier, well, not easier, it'd be much more effective to mobilize a whole generation of young people to do whatever their passion would be. So what do they need? And actually they need leadership skills.
Yeah.
And in schools, my mum's a teacher, my sister's a teacher, there isn't a great deal of leadership training in a school. It's not part of the curriculum. So I suggested this idea of teaching every young person leadership in Scotland to my dad, who was expecting to tell me they had too many things on the go. Because we had 2 things on the go. And he went, no, you probably should do that. I thought, oh, no, he's actually agreed. Then I went to see my sister, who is a teacher, thinking she would say, well, I'm the teacher, you're the car salesman, so stick on your own turf. And she went, no, that'd be a really good idea. And I said, oh, no. So by the time I spoke to about 4 or 5 people, hoping they would kind of put me off, they all said I should do it. So then I ended up having to do it. So just really, really excited. I mean, imagine if we could have an influence on every young person coming out of school, that they could make better decisions. I mean, what a wonderful thing that would be if we could try and do it. And everybody I've spoke to about it, whether it be sports stars to be ambassadors, or I've actually reached out to some of the best leadership, John Maxwell courses and all these things in America, and said, look, do you mind giving me your material for free? Thinking, oh, maybe I'll chance it, I'm in the car trade. And they've all gone, yes. So now I've got loads of material for nothing. I've got the Scottish Government would like to do it. We've got people in sport, and Scotland's not a big place, so you get to know a few people in these by selling cars and things. They've all said, no, we'll help you out. What do you want? And so we've run the first schools in September.
That sounds fantastic.
Really the purpose for doing what we're doing, and just passionate to try and use your influence properly. So that's what I'm trying to work out.
And I love the aspect of leadership, because for me, leadership is not just about being, the manager or leader of a group of people. You can actually, exercise great leadership even if you're working on your own. It's about the whole set of skills, isn't it? About your approach to life.
Absolutely. I think when you say it's about influence, when you say leadership is about influence, and everyone's got leadership, everyone's a leader in that sense. So whether that's wanting to be a football coach, a dad, or a mum, or a nurse, a business person, I think if just somebody gives you the skills, which you don't really learn, but you learn algebra, things like that, which I'm not sure when you really use. But if we can give you leadership skills, I never used it, leadership skills in schools, and a framework about managing money or managing relationships or resilience, some of these key topics, communication that you actually do need in your life. Not being an education expert at all, but if we can speak to folks that are, and encourage them and put a program together with them and help fund that and use our business skills about rolling things out and problem solving, then I'm hoping that can make a difference. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is a a long way from how many decimal points can you recount Pythagoras' theorem to, isn't it? Really, that's
just a little bit. Yeah,
it's important stuff.
I wasn't very good at school, so I think it's ironic I'm going back to try and help young people with them.
Well, it comes from the heart, Peter, doesn't it? I get where you're coming from with that. So, from your business point of view, then, I mean, this is clearly a sort of family culture, family values, and I get that, and I know that the legacy, and we've talked a bit more about your history and stuff. So, what do you think from what you're doing in that area kind of translates into your business from a culture and vision point of view? Do you think?
Well, I think if your purpose is really to value people, in a family business, it fits with business anyway, doesn't it? Because if you value the people that you're working with, and we're actually in a retail environment, they probably value the guest, or we call the customer guest. They probably value the guest quite highly. So you kind of anticipate that the guest will get a good level of experience.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if the guest prefers buying something from you rather than somebody else, you'll probably get the business, therefore financially you do well. So as long as you're not a muppet with running a business, and you can work out how to do it, if your culture is that you're looking after your colleagues more than you're looking after your guests, you'll find that your guest satisfaction is pretty good anyway. So we're trying to maintain, get the best place to work, best place to buy, and then run the business, because we should know what we're doing by now. It's taken 100 years, we should have worked it out. And then with the money that we get, we can reinvest it, which is what we've done, or giving it away. And I think people, because they can see that there's a greater purpose for working, and that they buy into, we're helping some charities out, which everybody in the brand of business would get involved with in the different regions they're in. It's much more fulfilling. So yes, we want to pay better than everybody else for great performance, all that kind of thing. You want it to be a bit more than just about money, and that's what we're trying to encourage, or trying to live out as a team.
Yeah, well, that sounds great. I mean, I do know of a few people who do work within your business, and I have to say that they do speak very highly of you and the management and so on. And
that's kind of. I bribed them, obviously, Steve.
Yeah.
I know who they are.
Well, I mean, we're not, this podcast isn't about blowing bubbles up anybody, but it is, let's praise where praise is due, and, you can sense it. And it kind of leads me on to the point about Menable, really, because we talked to you a bit about that last week as well, when we spoke. And I think, at first you were sort of intrigued about it, and we talked a bit more about it as well. So I'm kind of intrigued as to, we got to a place where you were then sort of saying that you would be very happy to support us and look towards supporting the mental health cause across the automotive industry. What was it about that sort of sparked your interest, do you think?
I'll tell you a bit of a personal story on here as well, which I did share with you last week. We in the last 12 months had one of our young lads passed away, so I'm not giving too much detail. So I'm not
indeed. Yeah.
But we didn't know, it was one of our businesses in one of our departments, and just a young lad who took his life, and the impact that had, that was closer to home for me than ever before on somebody taking their life. Really, I'd not been that exposed to knowing people that well. I had that many connections to people who had, and the impact was clearly there was the mourning that went with it, and the sorrow that went with it, and the feeling for the family clearly. Then there was the feeling of guilt that we should have done something about it. No matter who I spoke to in the business, they felt really disappointed in themselves that they'd not spotted it, not done something about it. And it just saw how hurtful, how devastating that whole thing is on suicide, and the impact it had on everybody. Just such a waste. And so that sparked a lot of conversations in the company about, do we really know enough about this topic? And so, I didn't, and some of the guys agreed that they didn't know, and it's obviously broadly male population. So the more we did the research on the topic, the more talking that we started to do amongst the teams, the more kind of training we did, just light touch training with managers, just so they understood the topic. And then we've now actually employed 2 counsellors full time for the group. So we will do what we're calling an annual MOT for every colleague, mental health check, really, where we're just going to make sure we're going to check in with you once a year by appointment, just to see how you're getting on, which is not part of the HR department, it's part of our foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really just trying to invest in getting alongside people. And it doesn't matter how you brought up or how fortunate you are. It can happen to you as well. I remember sitting on a holiday in Spain with my wife Anna, and I remember turning around and saying, "Look," and I was under a lot of pressure at the time. Folks had left the company who I adored. I couldn't believe they left, and I was devastated what happened. And this wasn't going quite as well as I'd imagined it would do. And I just turned around to Anna and said, "I'm not very well, am I?" I'm not. And she went, "No, you're not." And I remember ringing. I said, "I'll tell you what I'll do is, can I put my mum and dad on the phone, and can we ring them?" And I remember all sitting around the kitchen table in this house in Spain, just talking through what I wasn't right. And that was my experience, personal experience of mental health. You just know you're not right. You know you can't function properly. You know there's something wrong. And I suppose that personal experience for me a couple of years ago, and then seeing the far more horrific example this last 12 months, really gave me a good kick up the backside to not stereotype people having a bad time, or all the kind of stuff that maybe you I don't know, old motor trade chat and jargon, to then start seeing, and if you're really valuing people, you should really be valuing people. You should do what it says in the tin.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why we've invested in the counsellors. We're trying to talk about it more, and we're on that. And I don't know the answer. It's a journey. So when speaking to yourself and what you were doing, I thought I said I need to be having the conversation with yourself. I need to be learning about it. If I can use my influence in any way, shape, or form, as I learn, then of course I would like to be able to do that in my lifetime in the motor trade. But it's a very real issue for a lot of us at different times of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to be able to understand it and then get alongside people, feels like the right thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I mean, and I could sense on the call as well previously that we had a connection there, and I'm a great believer in thinking about what's the legacy that won't be left if you don't follow your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's stuff that's within you, and if you've experienced anything, and as you said, it doesn't matter what your background is or how privileged you've been in life and so on. We're all susceptible to this. It is on a spectrum, and I think. I might be a few years older than you, Peter, but there is a culture across the industry, isn't there? Or there has been, of one, it's predominantly male dominated, which of course we're working on, of course. And the other thing is that we're a diagnostic business, so we diagnose and fix things. Broken cars or people's transport needs.
Yeah.
And us men, we're very stereotypically not good at talking about anything we can't fix. And what you've just described there is stuff that isn't fixable. It's workable, but it isn't fixable, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So for the wider sector, then what do I mean, obviously I get a sense for where you are with your business, but for the wider industry and where we're going in the sector, what do you think needs to happen around this subject of mental health? Because what you've talked about there is not unique by any means.
I think we need to start talking about it, because my experience of dealing with that young lad and his family was, I remember standing in the workshop trying to speak to the team about something. You have to, as a leader, you got to stand in the workshop and empathize and try and think of a way forward when there really isn't one.
Mm-hmm.
What I think about all night before I did it was, if we can speak about these problems, if we can speak to each other when we're having a bad time, there's somebody you can speak to. Is that not where it starts? Having someone to speak to.
Yeah.
And my limited knowledge of this topic, and as I'm learning, I think that seems to be the issue. If it's okay to talk about it, then we might be able to talk about when we're having a bad time. Then we might be able to, gain some healing through conversation. As you say, as men, it's a stereotype, but it's probably true. We don't like to talk about our emotions very much. And the industry's full of young guys. So we need to be aware. And then if we're having issues, we need to encourage people to talk about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, interestingly, there is another link back with this, in that all the work you're doing with younger people as well. What we're finding in the work that we're doing is actually younger generations are far more open to talking about this.
Right.
Yeah, because and we're doing some work through Autotech with the colleges and so on, because what we recognise is that you take youngsters from a fairly cosseted environment of education and into a workplace where they're perhaps you know, well, they do come into contact with people who are a lot older, who perhaps think about things in a different way. And so we need to kind of bridge that gap, don't we, between those who talk about it and those who don't.
Who don't? No, it'd be great. Yeah, absolutely. When I say, well, these are things that lots of us don't know about, and so that's why I was encouraged with what you were doing about starting a dialogue and an understanding across the industry.
Yeah,
fantastic idea. So
yeah. No, well, thank you. Well, I mean, it's going to be amazing to get you involved in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like. So yeah, we'll look forward to great things in that respect. So, so moving forward, then, what's on the horizon for Peter Vardy? Where not just you personally, but the group as well.
A lie down. No,
anything you can, without giving anything away, clearly.
No, I think we're quite excited about the opportunity to expand online. And, for anybody who's trying to get into the motor trade or trying to grow, traditionally it was very expensive to get a building and very limited with having a franchise. And if you can find ways of growing from an e-commerce perspective and you don't have to have the franchise all the time, then you got a bit more freedom and actually slightly less expensive. So I think we're looking at ways of growing without very many more facilities. And then doing things that we really enjoy. So the strategy is really about having fun, and things that we don't have fun doing, we won't do. So So because actually, if I don't enjoy it, then the likelihood is the team won't enjoy it, and I don't want them doing anything that they don't enjoy as well. So we're choosing things that we can do over the next 5 or 10 years, based on some of the strengths that we have in the business and the people that we've got, and where we see the opportunity. So yeah, we're hopefully going to grow. So we'll see how that goes.
That sounds good. Well, I always say if it feels like work, you're doing it wrong. So I'm sure not everyone would agree with that. But so, of course, we are recording this sort of, hopefully as we're coming towards the back end of pandemic and out of lockdowns and stuff. So what are the kind of challenges that you're revving up for, post April 12th, June 21, and, some of these key dates we've been given?
Well, I mean, getting everybody back into the business in a safe capacity is the priority, isn't it? Make sure that not everybody's had a job yet that worked for us. So how can we make sure we look after people and their physical, mental, and financial well-being has been our mantra for the last 12 months.
Yeah.
We've not made any redundancies. We're pleased about that. We've actually raised quite a lot of investments, and so didn't foresee that happening. So we're encouraged with that, and then, as long as we get people back safely, we're trying to expand in the next 12 months. So we'll see if we can break records when we get back, see if people can be financially rewarded for that kind of effort, and then we'll put all the fun things back in the diary. So when we can have a ball and all these different things that we do to enjoy ourselves as a family business, we'll try and get them in the diary whenever we're allowed, and make sure folks are enjoying themselves as well as succeeding at their job. And that's what family business, I think, can thrive off. That community.
That sounds amazing.
And so that's definitely aiming to what can we do to make sure we can enjoy ourselves and celebrate the success when we get back.
Well, can I volunteer to be the MC at your company board?
Yeah, absolutely. You look like it as well with the microphone. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I've been told I love the sound of my own voice. I'm not sure. I think that.
No comment.
Yeah. You can't do this job if you don't. But I've got a great face for radio, apparently. So as long as it's reasonably dark in there, we'll be fine.
Good.
Good stuff. Now, Peter, I have to say, when we did speak last week, you offered up your support. We are going to talk about that in a bit more detail later on. It might be worthy of another podcast. I don't know. But for now, all I can say is thank you so much for joining us today and giving us a bit of insight and stuff. And, we look forward to working with you and supporting you, whatever that looks like in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Well done again, Steve. Well done.
You're a top man. Thank you very much indeed.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
See you soon.